Okay, so I don't have a solid entryway into this conversation. And um, hmm, if you're tapped into any of the communities that are talking about what 2026 and 2027 through 2030 is about, you probably, first of all, have a lot more language and organization and structure around this than I do. I doubt and question maybe most things all the time. And so I can sit and hear something and it can resonate and make sense, and I'll still doubt that it's a real thing. So I we are in a time of transformation. You have sat through some of my rants about artificial intelligence, and maybe I'm doing way more ranting in my own mind than I am actually doing on camera. And boy, are you lucky. But um, that's just one example that I'm watching that's letting me know that, yes, I doubt it and question it. And still, we are heading towards, like, we are on the roller coaster of what feels like an we're not ever going back. Like 2020 was a we're not ever going back situation. 2026 seems to be another one of those particular portal rides. So you can tap into human design, seems to be having a really deep conversation about this. If you check out some of your favorite human design people, um, the Gene Keys, which is connected to human design, but spends some time in a different way, um, a much slower way of like immersing in what's coming. So we've got the year of the fire horse, and we have the year of the phoenix, or I'm sorry, not the year of the phoenix, but the gate of the sleeping phoenix coming up in 27. I am still trying to wrap my head around this, and I'm not actually here to talk about those things because I don't understand these things well enough to have an intelligent conversation or an inspiring conversation for you about the specifics of the cross of the sleeping phoenix or the fire horse. There are lots of other people out there doing some really deep work on that, and I recommend you go check them out. Do a search for that information. You'll pull up a lot of options. What I would like to continue talking about is the maybe the mental whiplash that some of us are experiencing, where we thought we were heading in a direction and then something happens or occurs, and in my experience, something rises up inside of me, uh, perhaps in response to external, but really it's about my internal uh, weather. And that's not really the right word, but I think you can follow if I use internal weather. So I think that, at least in my mind, I'm talking to people who have lost core identities. And maybe I should have started that way. Um, I realize that I have a hard time getting started in the videos. And I think that this is part of why I'm talking about this subject today. Um, I have experienced my mind works very differently in these years than it did before 2020. And I'm not entirely sure what that's about. But part of it is that I went through an identity loss and then an identity crisis, or maybe it was the same thing. And I am noticing that, first of all, we seem to be preparing for that. That's one of the themes that I'm hearing some of these astrologers and human design coaches and other esoteric voices speaking to definitely an upcoming shakeup. I mean, we're in it right now. It's happening right now. It's happening right now. And I think the place that I'm most aware of it is in the financial markets, which is another thing that I don't understand. So I'm really just pointing you to these things. If you feel something in your body that's responding to the words that I'm saying, I'm not sitting here claiming to be the person who's going to help you understand those things. What I can offer is, here's a signpost. Go listen to this person talk about this thing, because I see a lot of signposts. I am doing my best to catch up on the information and understand the things that are happening. So in the financial markets, for those of us who might have thought that cryptocurrency wasn't going to actually be a thing, it's been pulled together. Like, it's been, I don't know when your first crypto, like hearing crypto, I don't know when that happened for you, and you might be someone who actually understood what to do with it when you first heard. I did not. I've spent the last however many years, I know 7 years, trying to understand this thing, and it's only in the past last year when it started clicking. But I'm still not going to try and explain it to you. But what I'm saying is, the people that I do my best to learn from, who have a much deeper understanding of things, are explaining that even though it doesn't look like anything's happening in that arena of any significance, so much is happening. And when the rest of us figure out that something's been happening, that sector of our lives will take off. So that's our entire relationship with finances. That's in the process of being changed, forever changed. But okay, so I say forever changed, meaning that the thing that we're working with, maybe the way that we look at money, maybe the way that we talk about that particular resource, is going to move differently, and we're going to have a different language for it. But as I listen to people talking about some of the details of it, my mind is just making the connection that still it's in terms of there being a hierarchy, there still seems to be a similarity to the old system. And again, I'm a novice at this. So I actually wrote down the name of someone that I can point you to. There are a number of people that I listen to. This first person that I thought I would share, I'm choosing his channel because his videos are short, at least the recent ones, and I've only found this person recently. And he seems to just explain current events in the crypto. Maybe he deals with some other finances in an easily digestible way. So you don't have to sit there for an hour. He so far doesn't seem to be someone who goes off on rants, although there is someone that I will recommend who absolutely does that, and I trust him as a voice, but I don't want to throw you into that particular fire right away. So for the crypto information, this person's name is @Ade, ADE. I'll put it in the show notes. And I'm just sharing that bit of what might seem like a tangent to point you in a direction. If you haven't been paying attention to finances and you care, then you might just start paying attention to that conversation and that language and vocabulary in that world. If you are someone who's decided that you're not going to participate in the financial system, I get it. I have bounced back and forth in that myself. For the purposes of this conversation, I think what I'm communicating to you and to myself is that we are in another kind of liminal space where whatever it is that we had, I think between 2020 and 2025, that is moving out of the picture. We have hopefully been preparing ourselves on some level. I don't know that most of us could prepare for everything that we need to be prepared for, but I do think most of us could prepare for one piece of it, and hopefully we've got some kind of network of actual humans that we can tap into to help us with some of the other pieces. Because whatever is coming this year into whatever the next cycle is, because we've started all sorts of new cycles recently, we're just going to be looking at a completely unknown experience. Some people, I was going to say unfamiliar, but I do spend a lot of time with people who talk about remembering. There is also a remembering that is going on in the community of humans on this planet. So I think to our surface mind, things are going to be very different. The way that we interact with one another, the way that we interact with ourselves, the structures and institutions that we have relied upon. I don't know. Some people will say they're not going to be there. Again, going back to these financial conversations that I watch happen, because again, very much a novice. The way that the systems are being set up is to model and mirror old systems, even though it's new technology that's being applied. So I don't know if that's just because we need a transition, we need something that's familiar, and so it's going to look similar in the beginning and then become something completely different, or if my understanding of it is just filling in huge gaps with the information that I do know based on past financial ways of being. What I'm saying is, life as we know it is changing, and that's terrifying. And for those of us who have lost our sense of identity, like the thing I used to be able to call myself when people ask me, what do you do? I used to be able to call myself a body worker. People used to call me a healer. Sometimes they would call me a very good healer. I used to be able to call myself a teacher. I used to be able to call myself specifically a meditation teacher, or a former writing teacher, or someone who teaches in the medical department at a university. Like, I did that. I've been a lot of things that I no longer was. And I actually started that process of stepping away from some of those identities in 2017, so 9 years. And then I got hit really hard in 2021, got really hit really hard. And so much of the rest of what I was holding on to was stripped away. So I'm still experiencing some of this, but I also understand that I experienced the bulk of it before what seems like a bunch of people are going to be experiencing that kind of thing coming up. If the voices out there who speak about these impending transformations, mutations, changes, resets, if those stories, those projections, those best guesses based on previous history and historical events, if those things happen. There will be a lot of people who are experiencing the sudden shock of not knowing who they are and how they fit in society. And I have not found my place. This is one of the reasons why I have such a hard time coming on and talking on this camera. I don't know what the hell I'm saying. I don't know what I don't know what my message is. But going back to the creativity, in the earlier message, I understand that because I'm trying to figure it out with my brain intellectually before I let my body just say something, that I'm like constipated, like spiritually and energetically constipated and creatively blocked because because I'm unwilling to be messy while I'm trying to figure it out. So I'm messy. I do not know what my message is. I've got some small messages. Like on some days, I truly do believe that if we, people who have the ability to practice discernment and people who do not feel so pressed to rush and do all the time, if these minds don't step up to the plate with artificial intelligence, we are going to have the problems that people project will absolutely be problems because more of us did not participate in the development of this thing that seems to be happening, whether we want it to happen or not. There are days. And so then on those days, I feel like that's an arena that I need to participate in. And I have been participating in it by learning how to work with some of those tools. And then there are days where I have heard someone say something or express their displeasure or their disbelief or their horror at this technology, and I question my own interests. I have a lot of days like this where I feel called to something or inspired to something, and probably because I am so unanchored in my physical life and I do not have a professional identity. I'm not really sure that I have a personal identity. I have moments of identity, but yeah, I don't have a long-term grip on who I am and what I am about in terms of the human collective. When it's just me, myself, and I and my quiet, I can stay in that quiet for indefinite periods of time. But I feel as though, first of all, speaking like this it's an outlet for me, and I need this right now. It's actually become very difficult for me to sit down and write, although I'm working on bringing that practice back into my own life. For some reason, it's become incredibly difficult for me to sit with myself in silence and let these words come on their own. So talking into a camera and then posting it onto a channel, it is like releasing energetic junk. And I had that feeling a few days ago, so that I've been releasing some of these videos and I was feeling very self-conscious about it because I do feel like I've been ranting and babbling. And of course the YouTube gurus, they're, like, you got to get to the point and, all the rules, whatever the rules are, I'm not following the rules. And it's because really right now I'm doing this because I need to do it. Nobody has to sit here and listen, although every once in a while I do say something that would be really, really useful and incredibly powerful in someone's life if you just took that little tiny seed and went and did something with it. It's like I had the most wonderful reading with an astrologer. Her name's Caroline Casey, and I do think she's a fantastic astrologer if you get down with people who love mythology, because she really she has a way with words and a way of rallying the troops inside if you're struggling. And I had been struggling with the part of myself And in this reading, she said to me, "Do you know the poem by?" And I think it's a Hafez poem. And I know a lot of you probably know this poem. I cannot remember the title, but I always think of it as "Rowdy Prisoners," or "Throwing Keys." Throwing Keys. But because I am so interested in so many things, and that actually the number of things has reduced. I'm in my 50s now, and I am really experiencing the contraction phase of life, which I think is another thing that's happening with me. But I am still interested in things that don't seem like they go together, and don't seem like they go with me. And that's just been me all of my life. And I pursue them, and I pursue them deeply. And that was the first thing that she said was, "You are interested in many things, and you're interested in them deeply." And that was validating for me, because I came from a lot of experiences with people who had issues with dilettantes. It's somebody who like dabbles in things, and I felt like I must be a dabbler if I wasn't going deep with one subject for like 20 years of my life. But instead, I've gone deep with several subjects for 30 years of my life, 40 years of my life, with some things like journaling. I have journals from, I think the oldest journal that I can picture in my mind is from 1989, this little book that I made myself. But the second thing that she said to me was this Hafez poem that she has all of these things memorized, just so many poems memorized, and poems are so beautiful. They're such beautiful medicine and such beautiful keys themselves, codes. And she said, yes, it was the poem of the man who walked under the moon, and I forget a lot of it, but he threw the keys to the rowdy prisoners. And the point of this for me was, it's not my responsibility to go in there and help people come out of whatever it is that we're in, or it's not my job. I am not the one equipped. There are other people who are equipped. I am not the one equipped to go in and pull people out of the situation. What I do is and have always been just throwing out keys. Oh, here's a resource. Oh, have you considered this idea? I read this poem the other day. I spent the last 16 weeks studying this topic, and I don't know why I did, but you just said this word, and now I know it's for you. Here's the teacher, here's the course, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's what I've been doing for decades. And I have had private practice where I've worked one-on-one with people in body work and dream work, and I read cards for a number of years, and I taught classes on reading the tarot and working with the tarot, and I taught people, I read charts for a while, and I taught a handful of people how to read their own chart in a contemplative way. So I'm saying I have spent one-on-one and small group time with people sharing what I've learned. But I have been in this period of dissolution and stasis for a very, very long time. And I don't think I'm actually going to come out of it without coming out of it in the messy state that I'm still in. I think I've been waiting to be clear. Oh, this is what it was for, but I don't think that's actually what's going to happen. And if you are someone who has been in a mess in yourself, you have left a job, lost a job, something significant has changed in your life that has you questioning who you are and what you are about, there is a lot of work. There is a lot of work to do in there. And I think what I'm saying by that is, for me, there was a lot of work. For you, maybe it's just simply letting that clothing go and stepping into whatever has presented itself to you next. That's fucking amazing. If that has happened for you, that's fantastic. And yes, run with that. If you are someone who has been throwing things at the wall and nothing seems to stick, I relate with that scenario because that's what I feel like I've been in. And the thing that's different for me now is that when I was working with clients daily, when I was working with other people daily, I was constantly able to bounce ideas off of people. I was constantly coming up with new offerings. And even if I only exchanged 10 of those things for money, like even if I only sold 10 classes, or even if I only had a class that ran for 2 years, I created the thing, I put it out in the world, it lived its life, and I moved on. I have been trying to figure out what I could create and put out there like that would have that kind of receptivity among others. And I don't know what that is. And I think that it might be this way for some other people as well. And I think that this year we need to figure it out. We need to figure some things out. And I don't think it's going to be, I think it's going to be more patchwork for some of us. It's going to be a little bit of this and a little bit of that, rather than these clean, straight lines of this amazingly cohesive business model or business structure. But the cohesion is in us. Like, that's another thing that you might hear, another word that you might hear a lot this year is coherence, cohesion, like coming back together, which is something that I have felt as a thing happening for me this year. And you might also be feeling this, but the key for me is to continue to create. This is creation. It's a messy creation. If you're still here, you might be struggling to be here with me. I'm struggling. Thank you for struggling with me. But I think that the process of coherence comes through the process of the dissolving and the gooey mess, and being willing to put ourselves in situations where we take what's happening in here and we put it out on a canvas, on a keyboard, whatever your artistic thing is. Mine right now happens to be working through some of my anxieties about being visible again. And I will say, I'll take this opportunity to say that if you're looking for a human design practitioner, I recently came across someone called Elton. His @handle on YouTube is @L10. I thought that was very clever. Clever use of letters in his name. But he actually did a wonderful video recently on just shaking up this attitude towards social media as the devil, which it definitely can be. And I am thinking of the tarot devil, actually, which is kind of, he didn't mention that archetype at all, but he was speaking about how, first of all, the algorithm, us, we are the same thing. Like if we're looking at this experience in life as being reflections and mirrors, that can be actually a useful philosophy to play with, that what you come into contact with throughout the day is a mirror. It's reflecting. It's got something to offer back to you about you. And when it comes to social media, he just helped me reposition my mind. And it was helpful because it's, again, I've already expressed I can see things from a couple different directions, and then I can get stuck in that. Very Libran quality. But I'm choosing to act on the idea that he suggested, that I have also experienced myself. So when he said it, I was like, yeah, that's what I was going through a few days ago, where some of us, when we step into a new creative expression, we're going to make a mess. We're not going to want to look at it. We're not going to want to show it to anyone, and no one else is going to be particularly interested in it either. But it is clearing the channel. We're clearing the channel when we allow ourselves to be messy in our creative expression. And this is what I'm doing right now, and this is what I am encouraging you to do. Because whatever it is that's happening this year, we want to be creatively receptive, and we want to have some sense, if not a full sense, of our creative capacity. I don't think we can actually have a full sense of our creative capacity, because I think it keeps expanding. In my experience over the years, when I am in my creativity, I keep expanding. But we don't get to do that if we don't show up in the vulnerability of being a bad artist or a lame artist. Or, it's okay to be a messy artist, but I'm talking about these other qualities of artistry that usually shut us down. Like, oh, I can't draw a good picture, or I can't paint, and so I can't sing, so we do none of it. This is what I'm talking about. We need to let ourselves make the things that need to be made, because those might be the things that need to be made, but they also might lead us to the things that are waiting to be made, but need us to have certain skills in order to be able to make them. And we can only develop those skills by making mistakes and making bad content and making bad creations, and bad conversations. So that's all I'd like to say for now. Yeah, you guys are witnessing my video journal, and it feels very exposing, but here we are. So we'll be back for another episode. Thanks for staying out, hanging with me.